Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel, and we're here today to reconsider the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday because I was what you might refer to as a Deborah Downer for a lot of it. Of
Sure.
course, we both had our manic midriff showing episode that
Yep.
transformed into a sequel to the DC shirtless rank off as we
Yes, it
discussed
did.
Kirby, which is quite entertaining. And if you missed it, it's probably because you're not subscribed to Backlog Banter, which you should
True.
fix by clicking the link right down there below the video. And while you're down there, like the video and ring the bell. And most critically, come join the Discord so you can talk to us about Nintendo and the Direct and everything, really anything at all. I don't really care. I just want to talk to you. I want to know the community a little bit better. But Tucker, I was being a Deborah Downer for the most part,
Yes, you were.
and my thoughts still stand on the whole.
Okay.
I think that it was an unnecessary showcase. I think it had significant issues as a Nintendo Direct.
hmm
Um, but I was lying in bed last night, Tucker, and I was on
As you
Twitter.
as you're known to do. That's a classic Abram Buner thing,
That is
laying in bed.
Yes, being in bed during the nighttime is an Abram Buner staple. Um, and so
Yes.
I was seeing some other people's impressions, and I was kind of just thinking about the announcements, and as I tend to do after Nintendo Direct. And
Yeah. What
I
else would you
woke,
do?
yes, of course, I woke up this morning, and I felt of two minds as I've been saying recently because I was in my mind. I still think the direct was poor. I'm not a fan of the pacing. I'm not a fan of the way that a lot of the information was. Here's this thing, but we're not going to tell you till later.
Yeah.
Here's a general lack of specificity in the trailers we do get, right? But coming out of that direct, I think we're set up for what is maybe the best period of the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, bar none. And so,
Yeah.
Tucker, what I want to talk about today is I want to just go over what we know
hmm
and just kind of discuss that, and especially in context to kind of where the Switch has been recently, whether that's the clusterfuck of 2020 or
Sure.
even just some of the quieter years like 2018 or
hmm
arguably the first half of this year.
Yeah.
So I just want to give an overview. I made a little Google document. Then
Oh,
then
look at you preparing.
yeah, and then I
I'll give you
want
a
you to
little golf
take it.
clap for that one.
Thank you. A little golf clap. Then I want you to take it wherever you see fit. Okay.
Okay. Right. And I just like to inform everyone that I am, as I'm known to do, flying by the seat of my pants right now
Yes.
because I was in bed. And this happens many of our recordings. I was in bed 20 minutes ago, and I've got
Yeah.
the energy. I'm here. I'm ready to talk,
Of
but
course.
I'll have to train my improv skills.
Yeah. So Tucker, this is a little roadmap. I didn't put any third party stuff on here. There's some major third party titles I'm super excited for, like Monkey Ball UR2, but this is a first and second party rundown.
Yeah.
Still to come in 2021, we have the final Smash character in its presentation.
hmm
We have the Animal Crossing Direct in that update. We've got Metroid Dread in the Switch OLED. Sometime after that, we've got N64 and Genesis Online,
Yes.
then Pokemon BDSP, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Advance Wars, and Big Brain Academy. We all have all of that coming in the next under 3 months.
Yes.
Then we
Yeah.
move into
True.
2022. We've got
Mhm.
Pokemon Legends Arceus, then
Right.
Triangle
Right. Biting
Strategy,
at the heels of 2021.
biting at the heels, Triangle Strategy, Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and then after that,
Nebulous.
yes, Nebulous, but we've got Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope,
Mhm.
Breath of the Wild sequel, Bayonetta 3, and Splatoon 3. So
Yes.
right there, Tucker, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 currently confirmed unreleased exclusives,
Mhm.
as well as two major pieces of DLC, a new piece of hardware, and a major overhaul to Nintendo Switch Online.
Mhm.
That's fucking nuts.
That's a lot of stuff to keep up with, and I'm
Yes.
very excited to try my best to keep up with this
Yes.
because from everything that you named there, well, I can look back at years like 2018, 2019, even 2020, saying,
Yeah.
okay, they certainly released some games there, believe it or not. But for the most part, there was a lot of games that I wasn't personally excited for or
Yeah.
following the zeitgeist stuff. I'm like, yes, this is a Nintendo release, but I want to bide my time. I want to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
focusing on things that are going to matter to me most. But basically, all of that matters to me most. I mean, I'm not going to
Yes.
be playing Big Brain Academy.
I will.
God, you fucking guy. Uh, but Triangle Strategy is the
Yeah.
one I'm most on the fence about. But even then, there's reasons to be interested in that.
Yes.
As we were talking yesterday, it's been a long time since Square has made a strategy RPG.
Yeah.
So that's really unique from that perspective. And of course, the art style and all that. But if that's the lowest, on my
Yeah.
excitement and interest and trying to keep up with its scale, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it speaks to a great variety in what we have on the horizon, right?
Yes.
Because I don't really care about triangle strategy. I'm not even sure.
Did you mention Animal Crossing information as well?
Yes. Yeah,
Did you?
yeah, I did. It's on my
didn't hear that
document.
part.
It's on my document. That and SMT5, I'm probably gonna skip both of those, frankly.
Yeah.
But that still leaves me 10 games I'm excited for, right?
Yeah.
And so while I think the Direct did not do a good job in the context of itself,
Mhm.
the fact that it did kind of slot in these other pieces, I think is really important when you
Yeah.
get removed from the showcase itself.
Mhm.
Because yeah, you're completely right. We have so many games to look forward to. And I think that does a lot to create a buffer to where it doesn't really matter if Nintendo goes quiet for a while.
Mhm.
And we know that they're not going to, because we've got these two, well, really three mini showcases lined up between Smash Brothers and Animal Crossing and the Nintendo Switch Online updates.
True.
So ultimately, even though that led to an underwhelming Direct, I think it leads to a better Switch experience moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at, both in our direct discussion video
Yeah.
of yesterday and our direct discussion video
Sure.
of a few days ago, is that for me, what's most important is not necessarily the hype or engagement of in the moment directs, but is the consistency of their communication. And when
Sure.
they have a spot like this, whether or not the direct on the whole was very exciting, this is the place where you are able to announce a new Kirby game releasing in spring
Right.
of next year. That where else would that have
Yeah.
been announced? If it had been announced in just a trailer, it would have felt like Origami King. It would have felt like got
Pikmin
Hyrule
3
Warriors, Age of
Deluxe.
Calamity,
Oh,
or Pikmin 3 Deluxe, where
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, do they really care that much about this? How much marketing is there going to be?
Yeah.
Announcing it in this way does feel underwhelming. I want them to push this and get it in the eyes of a lot of people. And having that revealed makes that more important in the eyes of the Nintendo audience. And the things that they did show yesterday, whether that is just general nonsense about Splatoon 3, which, yeah, sure, it was a bunch of clusterfuck visual Splatoonness, but that reinvigorates me to be excited for Splatoon 3 in a way that we hadn't seen it since March of this last year. And if it had been a year since we saw anything, okay, and now I'm really feeling the pressure for them to blow it out. But I think this may feel like filler, but I think it's a consistency filler that I appreciate.
Yeah, I think I was proven wrong in part by yesterday's showcase. I think what you're saying, I got your perspective completely, but I think now that I'm seeing it in action a day removed from the showcase, it makes a lot more sense to me. I do still think there was a more elegant way to deliver this information, whether that was, hey, we're just gonna have the Smash event and then we're gonna have the Animal Crossing event and the NSO one, and then we'll have like a mini direct or something, or save it for January for this information. But regardless, I think your point about spreading this out and putting them on that bigger stage is still true, because there definitely was a weird feeling about Age of Calamity of coming out of my like medieval literature class, and you're texting me like, holy shit, get on the phone.
It's a new Zelda game.
New Zelda game we got to talk about. So I think you're definitely right about that.
Yeah. Because we talk a lot on all of our content about how 2020 changed the way that Nintendo communicates. It showed them there was other options. It gave them the possibility of partner showcases. It said, allowed them to say whether this is good or not. We're releasing a game in a Twitter post, and then basically shut up about it for 3 months, and then it'll come out. Though I always felt that was more them sort of backpedaling and trying to do, or not backpedaling, but doggy paddling in the water, trying to stay afloat, trying to announce things in a way that did not really reconcile the interest in the Nintendo Switch community. People were more confused by the announcements of Age of Calamity and Origami King than in the moment excited for the momentum of the Nintendo Switch's release schedule. It was like, oh, okay, finally we're getting information. That was a little weird. How much do they care about this? How is it going to be marketed? Like, so moving away from that, well, I like that it's sort of a backup for extra things, like, I don't know, the way that Ring Fit Adventure or something is announced as sort of its own deal. I do think that they need to find a balance between the two, because you're right that there is a more elegant way with all the options they have on hand to present this information. They have a lot. They had a solid amount of exciting and interesting third-party announcements here. If you make that a partner showcase, and have an indie direct with
Yeah.
Disco Elysium and Deltarune. And the partner showcase is Castlevania, is ActRaiser, is GTA if that's
Bayonetta
happening.
even
Bayonetta,
could have
exactly.
been there, yeah.
That is one of the best partner showcases we've ever
Yeah.
gotten, and one of the best indie world showcases we've ever gotten. So they could have certainly spread them out like that. I think maybe their thought process is more of getting back into the flow of having consistent directs, and they wanted to sort of have an all-around package.
Yeah.
Because it has been a while since I've done that. I mean, they had 2 directs this year, but they were imbalanced in places. So there's definitely hit and miss from what we saw yesterday, but
Yeah.
I do think it signals a good direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think talking about that direction is kind of really where I want to go. And we're going to shift from the direct to the
Nintendo
shun.
direction.
Nintendo direction. Because it seems like now, because think about this, right? One of the greatest parts of 2017 Nintendo was that there were basically no game drops. And that was a function of them saying, holy fuck, we're kind of on a razor's edge here. Reggie even released a statement years after saying that Switch was make or break to an extent. So they knew that we need content, we need games, we need games, we need games. Because one of the persistent issues, I would argue, since Nintendo launched the N64 with like 3 games, Nintendo has never been able to balance the release calendar.
Yeah.
And it seemed like for a minute there at the beginning of Switch's life that they were rectifying that.
Yes.
And then they immediately stopped, and we immediately ran into pretty hefty game drops. But it seems like now, even if you might not have been interested in many of the early 2021 games, and I might have taken issue with a couple of them here or there, we're now really hitting our stride. I think the Switch is really hitting its stride here in terms of a release calendar, because before we even got into 2022 itself, 7 of its months are filled, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And of course, there is still the room and I think necessity, depending on how spread out those 7 months are, for them to announce a couple other smaller titles, whether that is the C tier stuff, whether it is a Donkey Kong, whether it is a Xenoblade for the holiday title, whatever. There is stuff to come, and that makes next year even more exciting. And that we know all this, and we can go in with very solid expectations to next year's January, March, whatever direct is. Yes, we're finally going to get more information on Breath of the Wild. Now we're going to get a release date for Splatoon 3. We're going to start getting more into that game's information cycle. Bayonetta is now on the table for getting trailers now that is re-entered into the zeitgeist.
Yes.
And I think that's exciting. Well, it does take a little bit of the mystery away, because we're probably not going to get a ton of surprises next year because the calendar is already filled out. I think in some regards, I would rather it be consistent in our information, which we are already knowing what's coming out, than having to fall back on those surprises as the only thing that we're waiting for.
No, I agree. I think that to a certain extent, directs are advertisement. And I think that yesterday's direct was a very obvious example of that for me in a lot of ways, like the incredibly stuffy and bizarre Mario movie segment, which has been beaten into the ground by everybody online.
Yes.
But
including us in our reaction, that's doing very well.
Yes. But I think that sometimes that becomes what directs are. They become, let's show you something flashy, let's get the big pop and call it a day, right? So I am more than comfortable with this model of let's just get all of this shit out ahead of time, because the Nintendo completely lied to us yesterday. They said this is a winter direct. Fucking nothing of consequence that they showed is releasing in the winter, right? So if
ActRaiser remastered, that doesn't make you
Renaissance.
Titillate? I'm just fucking around, but yes.
Remastered is, there's actually was it Red Faction Guerrilla, which takes place on Mars. It's called Remastered, which is terrible. But no, I like that we're getting stuff out ahead of time, and if then we get to E3 next year and they've got a couple little surprises, and then all the game announcements for 2023, totally fine.
Yeah. And I've sort of realized, as we've considered more of what Nintendo's announcements are, how they're sort of balancing the long-term announcements and the short-term announcements, I do think there is a middle ground there of having some that are ahead in advance, like announced a year and a half in advance, whatever, and the ones that are 4 months in advance or whatever. Though I personally think I almost prefer having that timetable to prepare of, okay, this is what games I'm going to be playing each month of the year. I know if I want to go on Reddit and defend the Nintendo Switch, these are the games that we'll
Right.
be releasing. As I will wholeheartedly put it out there that I did that the first 3 years of the Switch.
You put out some copy pasta worthy stuff
Yes,
early
yes,
on.
and I still have them somewhere.
Yes.
But I've come to realize that I prefer the long-term communication.
Sure.
It does not bother me that Death Stranding, when it's announced 5 years in advance, it doesn't bother me that we've known Breath of the Wild 2 is coming for so long, but we didn't have a lot of information for it. Knowing that games exist is for me the most important thing, whether or not the timetable of communication from that reveal to release is consistent. I just like having background information to sort of be a foundation for my interest in the video game news cycle.
Yeah, I still don't know exactly which I prefer. I mean, the weird thing about video games is that no other fucking medium announces work this way.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige goes up on stage and says, "Here's the next 10 years worth of Marvel movies," right?
Yeah.
And fucking everybody in this industry is like fucking closing their jackets, making sure they hide everything until 3 months before it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I think that contributes to. I think both contribute to an unhealthy hype cycle, whether you're
Mhm.
talking about a Cyberpunk or you're talking about a Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think both have their problems. I don't know. I think maybe even a Kirby in the Forgotten Land is a good middle ground. Give us probably 6 months of
Sure,
lead time,
yeah.
6 maybe 8 months, because I anticipate that Nintendo's really going to push what spring means to maybe like April or May is kind of when I expect that game.
That is
But-
spring, though, right?
It's spring, but it's starting to get into summer. I think when I think about a spring release, I want it in like February or March, but I don't think that's what we're going to get.
February is winter.
Is it? I don't
Yeah.
agree. That's when the snow's melted.
No, but no, there's 3 months in each season.
No,
The winter months are December, January, February.
I would argue that the winter months are like,
No, that's not really up for debate.
but Tucker, beyond all of this sort of meta stuff,
Yes.
looking at this game library itself, I have to make a desperate apology. 2 desperate
Me?
apologies to the audience and to Mario Party Superstars, which I left off of my rundown earlier.
Oh, yeah. Mario Party Superstars just called me. They're very pissed.
Yes, and I also, for the sake of my roommate, have to mention that Monster Hunter Sunbreak is going to be a pretty huge deal that's coming summer next year. But when I look at this lineup, right, Tucker, I'm just gonna briefly read it again, and I'm gonna exclude the DLC and things like that. Metroid Dread, Mario Party Superstars, Pokemon Remake, SMT, Advanced Wars, Big Brain, Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, Kirby Platformer, Mario and Rabbids, Breath of the Wild, Bayonetta, Splatoon.
Mhm.
What I like so much about that is that there's a really great mix of things in there. And I'm
Yeah,
not just
100%.
talking about in terms of franchises, I'm talking about appeal. So you got your more casual Blue Ocean stuff, like Big Brain Academy, which Jean is really excited for. And then you've got your hardcore sequels we've been waiting for, your Bayonettas, your Breath of the Wild 2s.
Yep.
You got your really interesting revivals, your Advance Wars, your Metroids, right? Throw in the more big budget, predictable stuff like your Splatoons. You've got major franchise reinventions with Legends Arceus and Kirby, right?
Mhm.
You've got franchise revivals in terms of something like a Mario Party Superstars. You got your JRPG horse shit. You really have everything. I think this is the most varied that the lineup has maybe ever been.
Sure, yeah, and especially because excluding Advanced Wars and BDSP, all of this is new content. We're not leaning on ports anymore.
Yeah.
You look at 2017, you're like, wow, what a great lineup. They had something new releasing every month, but like a third of that was ports.
And it was not only ports, but it's also iterative sequels in a lot of respects.
Sure.
Your Splatoons and things like that.
Oh, I guess that's true. I guess that's true.
There were, and even Breath of the Wild cross-released on Wii U. I think 2017 was a great year, but it was a year where if you're just looking pound for pound at only the Switch content,
yeah,
it really wasn't the greatest.
Sure, I think that's a discussion to be had for another time.
Yeah.
Thinking through, and I do want to sort of do a video eventually about us talking about each of the Switch's years and how the release calendars and overall library and all that. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I look back on 2017 very fondly because it was able to introduce me to so many franchises that I had not had experience with before, as the Switch was the first console that I really engaged with on a major level. But now I feel like I'm in my stride, but I'm very satisfied with what's
Yeah.
happening next year. Whether or not it's the same level of hype, I was watching that January 2017 Switch
Yeah.
presentation, like, holy shit, we're getting Splatoon and ARMS and One Two Switch and a Mario Odyssey, blah 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 blah.
Right.
This feels more steady. It feels more confident almost in a way.
No, I agree. And when I say that 2017, of course, was an incredible year for Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm never going to deny that. And I had an amazing time. And it's a great first year of the Switch. But I do think there was a lot of iteration. There was a lot of porting. There was a lot of stitching together a lineup that was going to be compelling, right? And a lot of kind of ignoring what happened on Wii U and just porting that content over and just getting a fresh start, which is completely understandable. But now I think we're beyond that, right? There's nary a Wii U port on the horizon, which I don't. I came around on Wii U ports as they became more substantial.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we're completely facing forward now is really exciting. And even if there's sequels, I feel like these are sequels that are now we're taking the big steps forward, right? Now we're ready to evolve some franchises. We're not getting a Kirby Star Allies this year.
True.
And the older content coming back, I think, feels very deliberate. BDSP we can talk about, but Advance Wars is such a fascinating series to bring back. So it's a really rich lineup.
I was gonna say you forgot Maiden of Blackwater, but that's actually releasing on everything. And I only found out about that like last week. I'm like, when's that fucking game coming out? I was looking at that. I was like, oh, it's coming out on everything.
I completely forgot about that. I kind of want to play it.
I kind of want to play it.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something. Maybe we'll do something about that.
But we actually still don't know when it's coming out.
I want to say it comes out at the beginning of October, so I think we're probably not going to play it.
Oh, that's terrible timing.
I'm not positive about that, but I'm
Frame Maiden of Blackwater.
I've got it in my head that it comes out early October.
Switch.
What do you see in there? You see a release date?
It's only showing me the Wii U one. What the fuck?
Do I need to do my Google skills?
No, I can use Google. Available 2021. The official Nintendo website does not have a release date for this game, and is also not available for pre-order. So I actually think this is probably more of a November thing. If it's not already dated for next month, they probably need another month.
Oh, good news! Actually, it came out on July 29th, 2014.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was only getting information on the Wii version.
No, here it is right here from PlayStation Lifestyle. The release date is set for October 28th, 2021.
Okay, well, Nintendo, update your fucking website, please.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But Tucker, the point is, I think on the most macro level is I'm just feeling very excited about the ecosystem, and I think I feel like the Direct, it's kind of like you were giving me a present, right?
Me?
But you tied the present to a brick and you like threw it through my window. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Sure. At first, it was very surprising. It was jarring. You probably flinched a little bit in the moment, but then when you unwrapped the present and you found a cheese-coated Star Fox 64, so you can lick the cheese off, enjoy the cheese, and then enjoy the Star Fox 64 inside. You're like, wow, this was kind of sweet. I'm glad they planned this for me.
I know, I agree. I just wish that you hadn't tied it to a brick and thrown it through my window.
Sure.
I
mean, sometimes bricks can be fun.
But Tucker, do you have anything else you want to say about this kind of ethereal conversation about how Nintendo's in a really nice place right now?
In installment 3 of us changing our minds about Nintendo Directs in the last 4 days.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. I like that we're flexible, and willing to be open-minded about these sorts of things.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything more to say. I'm excited to be able to talk about these games coming, obviously, talk about retrospectively how this year and next year stack up to the previous years, talk about probably when we've given some more thought to it, how Nintendo's communication has changed over the years, all of that. And there was one more thing I would say. Do your spiel and I'll see if I remember it.
I'm just excited to be in a position where I feel like there's not a whole lot to be concerned about, because I feel like basically with every past year of the Switch, there was some kind of undercurrent that was making me nervous, right?
Yeah.
But right now we're a couple weeks away from a new piece of hardware, which is not a technological refresh, but it's a quality of life refresh, and one that I'm hopefully going to invest in, and then just an excellent slate of games. And Nintendo Switch has games.
Yes, they do.
Right now, they really do. And they also have some nice showcases for us to react to in the next couple weeks.
Very true. I'm excited to have that sort of planned out slate of, we're doing an Animal Crossing Direct and we can do a discussion on that. We're doing Smash. We can talk about how we feel about the whole thing. Nintendo just allowed a BLB to be a little more structured, which has never been true before, and finally it's coming to fruition.
It's all because
But
I got Shiggy on the phone.
that's true. Yeah, you and good old Shig Boy. The one thing I was going to say is I'm very happy that we're not in that there was a turnaround from when we started BLB, and for the first 8 months of our
Oh,
content,
great point. Yes.
we were like, what the fuck is going on with Nintendo? This is the worst year of the Switch's life cycle. They are not communicating. We have no idea what's going on. The games are not being announced at any particular pace. What the fuck? What the fuck? And now we can finally take a breather and feel confident as Nintendo Switch owners and Nintendo fanboys, because we are, whether we want to admit it or not, that we have legs to stand on. The Nintendo Switch is standing up to its competitors next year. They have a competent lineup that is actually trouncing PlayStation at the moment, because we have like what, 2 PlayStation exclusives confirmed for next year, maybe 2.5, something like that. So that's exciting, especially because I was looking at the end of last year when those new consoles were revealed, and this year when those new consoles were existing and continuing their momentum, and Nintendo not really feeling like they were standing up to that, but now they're finally, it feels like they're fighting back, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, I just think we're in a really great place of creativity. It's not just that we have a full release calendar; we have a full release calendar of very, very interesting games. So that's all I have to say, Tucker.
Do the
The classic
Miyamoto
Shiggy
thing, yeah.
GIF.
Yeah.
That's what he did to me on FaceTime when I asked him to make sure that that Chris Pratt is Mario.
Hey, Shigeru. Hey, Shigeru. Sorry, excuse me, Shiggy. Hey, can you give me information about Nintendo Switch games?
He told me that they're getting Don Bluth to make a Wario Land game.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Yes. So I'm just flying by my seat of my pants here.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You're smart. You're a smart boy. You're an adaptable boy. You're flexible.
I can flex my finger all the way back like that. No, you got me to smile first. I didn't think you'd wink back.
All right.
I didn't expect that.